Welcome back, everybody. It is Sunday. There's so much to talk about, so we got to jump on here to do a weekend show, including, in a weird, twisted way, there's something hopeful, at least politically, about how badly Trump on messaging is botching what's going to be the key issue in future elections. We already saw in the Tuesday night Democratic sweep, there's Trump backlash, and we're not even barely into his presidency, 25% of the way through. And so as that builds for people, as horrible as it is that those on the ground realities are what they are, Trump doesn't seem to even be able to, what he normally does effectively, unfortunately, is brand his way out of problems, message his way, lie his way out of problems. He's now had days to figure out an adjusted messaging on affordability, on the economy. And this will go down. Do you remember? And then I'll play you the examples I'm talking about. We have a bunch of updates throughout today's show, including maybe a shutdown deal coming together. But is it good? What is it? And everything else. But do you remember, while this didn't make the difference, it was representative of something that could have made the difference in Kamala's election, which was that clip of her on The View getting asked what would she do differently than Biden. She said nothing comes to mind. And that kind of became the center point of a lot of analysis, was that inability to put distance and identify herself as her own thing and not just a continuation of what we're already in. Was that a difference maker? I think we're going to look at this moment and a couple of them as the F up of Trump's messaging in his presidency that will doom, hopefully, the Republican Party in some of these future elections. So let's take a listen. Something we looked at before, and then I'll give you all the other important info.
So I just heard this yesterday that Walmart said that the Thanksgiving was 25% more expensive under Biden. That's a big, to me, that's a big number, because Walmart's respected. I mean, Walmart is Walmart, and, you know, they're giving you prices. So that would mean that the whole series of pricing and costs, you know, the groceries and everything else.
So again, before getting to the key part, as we already addressed, the reason why the Thanksgiving Walmart meal is cheaper, the little bundle, basket, package, whatever, that you can purchase, is because they took a bunch of stuff out of it. So it's just many fewer items, which then means it's cheaper.
It was a con job. It was a con job. Affordability, they call it, was a con job by the Democrats. The Democrats are good at a few things: cheating on elections and conning people with facts that aren't true.
So he's had days now. The entire takeaway from the Democrats winning by larger margins on Tuesday in these off-year elections than expected was Republicans are going to have to get a better message on now their handling of the economy. And Trump has decided his message, which will show up, I can promise you, in every ad, and the second example is even more egregious, is trying to con job, hoax, brand his way out of this. And there are a lot of things you can do that with, we've learned. Cases against him where he's found of liable sexual abuse. People go, I don't know, he says it's a hoax, who cares? Somehow. All the different indictments of him. I don't think that you can, this is a Democratic hoax, message your way out of what people are feeling in their lives. That's different. He's trying to use the same playbook on this as he's using on Epstein.
The release, is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the...
Try going around the country, Republicans, and defending Trump saying affordability is a Democratic con job, that being a concern, and Epstein is a hoax. Now, we also tried to word it this way.
Talk about the cost of Thanksgiving and the cost of living through Thanksgiving and enjoying Thanksgiving. For Joe Biden, it was 25% more than it is for me. At a later time, our energy costs are way down, our groceries are way down, everything is way down.
All of that's a lie.
And the press doesn't report it. The press reports whatever the con people say. You know, I call the Democrats con men and women. They make up numbers. But when you look at 25% reduction in costs for Thanksgiving between Biden and me, meaning this administration, that's a tremendous number. It's the biggest reduction in cost in the history of that chart or whatever it is they do. That they do a synopsis of everything. They cover every element of Thanksgiving meals. 25.
So again, he doesn't even know what he's talking about. He's talking about a Walmart Thanksgiving bundle you can get and how they took a bunch of stuff out of it to make it cheaper. In reality, if you were getting the exact same thing, Thanksgiving meal would be more expensive than it was under Biden. Not because of pandemic price pushes like we saw during, but because of specifically actions Trump is taking proactively. That's a big difference. And I guess, yeah, you could make your Thanksgiving meal cheaper under Trump if you got half the stuff. If you ate half the size of the meal, which I'm not going to be doing. I can tell you that. I look forward to this meal all year. I'll eat what I want to eat.
Percent down. So I don't want to hear about the affordability because right now we're much less. If you look at energy,
I don't want to hear about the affordability. That's the part that I wanted to circle back to emphasize. Just bookmark it now. We're going to be looking back at this moment where he decided, instead of doing what Biden and Kamala would do, which is, here's what we're trying to do to address these issues. We understand we haven't made enough progress, but here's the progress we have made. But we hear the concerns. It's a big problem. We diagnose it to be more pandemic aftermath related, but that doesn't mean we're not responsible for trying to address it. This is a Republican con job. This whole, people are concerned about prices surging. It would have been even the biggest landslide in history if that had been the messaging against Democrats. And now that's what Trump's leaning into. You can't lie yourself out. You can't brand yourself out of what people are actually experiencing in their own life. And the only job for Democrats will be correctly connecting it to Trump's policies and not just being a macroeconomic phenomenon, but specifically Trump's policies. And I think this will be the major mess up of the next few years that could get us out of this era. Not that he's doing these things wrong, that's a part of it, but that he will not be able to admit there's a problem because he has to act like everything's perfect under him. And that's going to infuriate people. And that's a political F-up of epic proportions. And in a really sad, harmful way, I do think it could give people the clarity to vote against this. Now, what is he going to do in that world where people elected him, wanting him to address affordability, and then he took active steps, very obvious, predictable steps that caused prices to go up more, for people's economic issues to be worsened? He's going to try to divert attention as much as possible. And that's what this next post is about. While we read it, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show. Millions of people watch every month who aren't subscribed. It's free. You just click the button, but it helps to further the cause. So Trump's now, because of all of the impacts of tariffs, trying to convince people, as he has for a while, that just bear through it because you'll be getting a tariff check. You'll be getting a tariff dividend. And he says this. People that actually, it's interesting. Johnny MAGA, a MAGA account, is so hyped about this. And it really makes my heart sad. But it also explains how we elected this guy. If there's Johnny MAGAs out in the world who believe what Trump's selling, then I guess it makes sense a lot of people went to the polls to vote for him. Because Johnny MAGA said Trump's approval rating is going to soar once these checks hit. So good. People that are against tariffs, Trump writes, are fools. We are now the richest, most respected country in the world with almost no inflation. False. And a record stock market price. 401ks, our highest ever. We are taking in trillions of dollars and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt. He's going to be responsible for adding a historic amount to the debt because of his big bill. Record investment in the USA, plants and factories going up all over the place. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high income people, will be paid to everyone. So it's Don't believe your lying eyes at the grocery store. You're wrong. Actually, everything's great. Everything's gone down. Everything's cheaper. Everything's more affordable. That's strategy one. Going to be disastrous for Republicans to have to go and campaign with the guy at the top of their party saying that. And again, just imagine if that's what Kamala was saying when she was running. Instead of, I know it's a huge issue and we're trying. If it were just, you're wrong, losers. Stop being poor then. Republicans are just making this up. And there would have been a whole lot more outrage in the media, I can tell you, if she said what he's saying now. And then his strategy, too, is to make obviously insincere promises like, okay, yeah, I'll admit now you guys are the ones paying the tariff. But you're all going to come out better in the end because I'm going to give you $2,000 checks each. And MAGA world is going, yes, see, trust and believe in Trump, and thou shall get a check, as the Bible says. Must be really easy to scam these people. If I were a scammer, I would go see who's commenting on these posts and start DMing them. I'm lost at sea and I'm a billionaire. And if you'll just send me $1,000, once I get home, I'll send you $1 million. Because who believes that? He's been saying this for months. Brett Mycelis had a good post responding saying, in case you haven't picked up on it yet, Trump is a scammer. He always promises riches for you right around the corner. Get ready for Doge dividend checks. You remember that promise? That didn't happen. We're saving so much money cutting the transgender mice, and now we're going to send you money. We're getting the gold out of Fort Knox. Yeah, that too. I forget about some of these things. Who's ready for $2,000 tariff checks? We've got $22 trillion for you from our secret foreign deals. It's all a lie. As he strings you along, the only people getting richer are him and his billionaire buddies, and shame on the propagandists who act to further his scams. It's honestly sad because maybe this Johnny MAGA account is a disingenuous grifter, but there are going to be people watching and can barely pay for their basic needs thinking, I just need to hold out until Trump sends me my tariff check. And it will never come. And I'm not just saying that hypothetically. I've talked to people who are sitting and waiting for their check. That will never come.
With the tariffs, bring money right now in. And here's what he's proposing with the money we're going to do. The people who's going to make less than $250,000 will get paid back. People
He's not going to give that to you. I promise.
You can't see the future.
I can.
Right?
I can.
No, you can't.
I really can.
Look at my eyes. You can't. It's a
You
delusion.
have a deep sadness in your eyes.
In my yeah.
No, so I mean, okay, maybe wait for him to give you some paycheck, but in the meantime, he's ripping away healthcare. In the meantime, he's taking away SNAP benefits. In the meantime, he's giving huge tax breaks to wealthy folks. That's just deranged.
We just had the beauty.
Around, what are we talking, like around 680? We're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. They don't have money for SNAP, they say, during the shutdown. They don't have money for Medicaid. But apparently, we have so much money that we have enough. I guess they're saying not for wealthier people. So I don't know what the number is, but hundreds of billions of dollars in checks. It's just stringing people along. It's just him trying to distract people from the real economic hardship. And then things like this. He posted on his Truth Social, wow, in response to a story saying breaking. Doge halts yearly payments of even though Doge is like non-existent anymore, but $2.5 million to Barack Obama for royalties linked to Obamacare. A total of $40 million of taxpayer funds. Trump's just posting uncritically. Apparently has been funneled to Obama. Look over here. Now, obviously, a community note had to be added saying the story originated in a meme from a satirical Facebook page. The owner of the page is known for tricking conservatives into liking and sharing made-up content. I honestly feel a little bit sad. And Trump signal boosting that. Something that explicitly identifies itself as satire. Or, I'm sure, do you remember when Trump said, I suggested to Republicans, don't do anything, but just right before the election start talking about trans this, trans that. Something to that effect. you're going to be hearing a lot of stuff like this. This is the EPA head.
Now, conservatives say there are 2 genders. Democrats are saying that there's 100 genders and counting and growing. But what's happened right now is that the Democratic Party chose to nominate a guy who is a social.
When was the last... We have a clip later in the show of Joe Biden talking about Trump, and he gave a speech. When was the last time you heard an elected Democrat say there's hundreds of genders? They're just shadow boxing. They're just against a non-existent opponent. Who on earth cares about some random blogger? Gender theory is fun / fun. Who talks about 100 genders if you identify gender as the variance of identification across all of these different... Who cares about that when their snap's getting cut off? How relevant is that to anyone? The EPA is gutting crucial protections that keep us from getting killed by pollution. Keeps companies from polluting our air, water, poisoning our water sources, and they're just destroying that institution. That guy. But he says, Lee Zeldin, these Democrats want to make 100 genders. Similarly, Kristen Wagner posted, my son can't even go on a field trip or take an Advil without my consent. So why do schools think they have the right to transition a child without asking mom and dad? They're going to be pounding these drums so blatantly, and it works a little better when you're out of power, but it's your peeps in power. And people are seeing what that's meant for them. I don't think this junk, mostly made up, is going to do much for anyone. Who? Your kid went to school? Who? Tell me a specific story. Your kid came home and was a girl? Rob became a girl at school? Now, what do you mean? They're going and they're like, I'm a girl. And then that's what you're... And the teacher doesn't like throw them into a net and bring them back to your house and say, I got your kid being a girl. Or do you mean actual transitioning? Where's that happening? Miss Deborah is transitioning your kids at school. I've missed this. I'm not a parent, but I've missed this phenomenon. Listen to her explanation.
There's
anything but the economy.
A reason that my 17-year-old boy needs to get my consent from the school before he goes even to a pumpkin patch or takes a pill that's an Advil.
Your 17-year-old kid is going to pumpkin patches? Maybe that's the problem. Not that they're going to trans him, but that he's a weirdo. Not kidding. When I was 17 in high school, senior year of high school, I wasn't going on field trips to pumpkin patches.
And that's because I am the parent.
Go to pumpkin patches. It's very fun. Just don't let them turn you into a female pumpkin.
And the school recognizes that. And yet we are willing to disrupt the parental relationship. A school official thinks that it has that kind of authority. That is not constitutional, and it doesn't serve a compelling interest, nor is it narrow-tailored.
So you're suggesting that the Constitution demands the permission for the pumpkin patch?
I'm suggesting that practice in and of itself...
It just popped up on my feed, and it kind of fit into what we're talking about, of just the random look over here's that they're going to be doing. And it's so much more when you have all the power. It's so much more obvious. That's what gives me a little hope. I think people right now are like, this is not 2022. Are we really still debating this? Is this still really... Are we going to start talking about there's non-existent litter boxes? Oh. Nancy Mace randomly posted, if you have to tell people you're a woman, you aren't. And then, of course, she had posted in the past, my name is Nancy and I'm a woman. But what is she talking? Who are you talking to? Is this person in the room with us? Who is it that you're speaking? Who prompted that? Okay. But also there are all sorts of places where you have to tell people, all those little Every person who's ever filled out a document that asks for your gender apparently is not a real woman if you checked woman, because you had to tell them. They should just know you're no, your what's it, pheromones. Your pheromones should be so potent that they don't even have to ask, that the computer knows. Or they'll revive Sydney Sweeney stories. You know, I mean, this is what Trump's out there saying, affordability, this is a con job, it's not a real issue, y'all are fine, I'm doing great, everything's perfect, everything's going down, and you're like, no, it's not, I'm the one paying. When was the last time Trump was at a grocery store? People actually know it's not working. So then what is Fox News supposed to talk about? Well, before I show you Benny Johnson saying maybe J.D. Vance should run for president with Sydney Sweeney, this was the excuse they needed to revive the liberals can't handle Sydney Sweeney story.
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
I saw zero influential liberals respond to those clips, except for me, but that's because of this one that I found funny.
The reaction definitely was a surprise, but it was, I love jeans. All I wear are jeans. I'm literally in jeans and a t-shirt like every day of my life.
Jeans are uncontroversial. Jeans are awesome.
Yeah, I like your jeans.
You look great and you're...
Okay. Cool. Get it. Wear your jeans. No one cares. People care. Influential people don't care. And why do I make that specification? Because you can craft any worldview you want. Any. If you want to grab random examples of random people. Because it's a big country and people say all sorts of funky things online. But instead of focusing on the issues that really matter, Fox News has Benny Johnson on to say what a brilliant way to smack down. I apologize, Jaden. Very ill. This is... Look at what you've done to him. Look at what you've done to him, Sydney Sweeney. He's going into... All right. Here's Benny Johnson.
It seems like the media wants less Colbert, more Sweeney.
Yes, Jesse, everybody is obsessed right now with the government shutdown, but that is the single greatest shutdown in the history of media. What Sydney Sweeney did right there was a masterclass in destroying bad faith arguments with that insufferable, passive-aggressive, feline questioner who was asking questions in bad faith, engaging in the wrap-up smear. And the wrap-up smear is a tried-and-true tactic of Democrats. What they do is they create a conspiracy.
Show me an elected Democrat who's spoken about this. Show me, Benny.
Theory about you. Like Sydney Sweeney in a pair of blue jeans is somehow a Nazi. And then they merchandise it. They get a bunch of people to tweet about it and a bunch of people to write about it. And then they go to Sydney Sweeney and they say, apologize for this. You're guilty.
Elected Democrats are like, we want healthcare subsidy extensions. We don't want healthcare to spike. We think our democracy is being threatened. Why are you taking away Medicaid? And then they're over there arguing with someone that I don't know, who's saying Sydney Sweeney's a Nazi and there's 100 genders and you're a woman, I'm a woman, we're all women. I should be able to say what's happening? Who is this for? It's this, the circle, huh? It's a circle, huh? Trump's motion, it's a circle that. They're just all making each other happy, living in their own world where that's what they're arguing against, and that's the woke mob that they're trying to combat. And meanwhile, people with actual power are going, hey, we don't like that Trump is aggressively, legally petitioning to cut off food stamps during the shutdown. Argue with that, maybe? Like, try that for a second, then we can go back. I saw a random account said, communism is when you collectively pretend the first woman is more attractive than the second woman. And the first woman is Zohra Mamdani's wife, and the second woman is Sydney Sweeney. And it's like, y'all need help. You need help. You're just finding excuses to post photos of her. Then, in the list of things I don't care about that for some reason certain people in the media think we should care about, Axios ran a story about James Tallarico, who's running for Senate in Texas. Really interesting, good candidate. Saying, new, breaking, James Tallarico follows several adult film performers, escorts, and OnlyFans models on Instagram. Can he survive the Texas primary? Who? Okay. Of course, the response from the spokesperson was like, hey, when people show support, we'll follow them back. We'll engage with them. Doesn't necessarily mean that we're a fan of whatever they do or we're watching their adult content or anything like that. And either way, how is this relevant? Why did we waste any paper or time, computer power, typing out a story about how James Tallarico's Instagram follows OnlyFans models? Very bizarre. Very bizarre. So, as I say a lot, the worse it gets for Trump, his approval rating in the dumps, his policies failing, the more we're going to have to hear about James Tallarico's OnlyFans following. Sydney Sweeney shutting down the woke mob. And kids being transitioned at school or something. Apparently. Not real. At the pumpkin patch when they're 17. I think a 17-year-old doesn't need a waiver to go to a pumpkin. You can just go. Okay.